Hey guys, Jesse here from Urban Legends Antiques, and this week we have a curb alert for you. This dresser was in rough shape. It was on the side of the road. We picked it up, put it in the back of our truck, and brought it home, and we're going to show you how we repaired it. Last week's video you saw us using Denali, Chalky Chicks beautiful blue color, and this week we are using Denim. This was painted in Denim. It's their newest blue color. I'm really excited for how it turned out, and I'm going to show you guys how we got this look. Let's get started.
Okay friends, buckle up because it's going to be a bumpy ride this week. This dresser fought back. Okay, first things first, it's going to get a good scrub down with some Dawn and warm water and a scrub brush. My supervisor today is Ruby, the naughty poodle in the background. She keeps trying to drink the dirty Dawn water. Okay, I've moved on to the front of the dresser. You can see how bad the veneer is. It's already flaked off a bunch on this one piece. And then when I move to the middle drawers, you're going to see the veneer just coming off in pieces. As I'm taking the hardware off, the veneer on the middle drawers is starting to flake off already. I can feel it in my hands, and I'm a little bit concerned about this, but I've done this before, and I'm pretty confident that I can do it again. My original plan was to glue the veneer back down, but I couldn't even wipe the dresser drawers down. The veneer was like crumbling and cracking in my hands, and it was coming off, so I decided I'm just going to peel it off and try and repair it afterwards. So I decided I was going to use a heat gun to get this sticker off. I don't know if this was the best decision in hindsight. This was a tough lesson for me to learn. The heat gun will actually warm up the veneer and cause it to come up as well. And later on in the video you'll see like a bunch of the veneer flaked up afterwards. But I had to get the sticker off. I could not get it off. This sticker was hard to get off. I mean, how many years had this sticker been on the front of this dresser? I have no idea, but I had to go in with the heat gun twice to get the glue to loosen up to remove it. Now to start working on the veneer repairs. I've used Dixie Belle's painter's mud in the past, and it goes on like icing. It's really easy to use. It dries really quickly, and I'm comfortable using it. I've never repaired this much veneer with it before, so this may have been a mistake. I'm thinking in hindsight I probably should have used the Bondo, but lesson learned. So here we go. This is what I mean about the dresser was fighting back. Look at that. Just veneer coming off, just flaking off all over the place. The three middle drawers were in the worst condition and they required the most repairs, so I got those done, and then I'm just going on to the other drawers and doing the minor repair work that they required. Okay, moving on to the top of the dresser. The top of the dresser was in really rough condition as well. Those rings that you see me putting the mud over, they were actual indentations in the veneer, and I was concerned that if I started to sand those, that the veneer on the top of the dresser was going to do the same thing that the drawers had done and just start flaking off. So I decided to try to go over them and patch them up as best as I could. That way I would have a smooth surface when I started to sand. For all of the friends I have out there that watch the makeup videos, this painter's mud is buildable, so you can put on layer of it, and once it dries you sand it down, and I can actually use it and build up a corner. All of the corners on this dresser were munched, so I put down a layer the mud, let it dry, and then I'll sand it, and then I'll put down a little bit more to get a nice sharp corner. Time to sand. I've moved everything into the garage and I'm using 220 grit sandpaper, and I'm giving the fronts of the dressers a nice light sanding. I do not want to get a swirl pattern in the top of the dresser when I'm sanding with the rotary sander. So what I'm doing is I'll turn the sander off when I lift up, and then when I go back down, I'll turn it back on, so that way it'll help prevent you getting that swirl pattern. And I'm not pressing at all. I'm just guiding the sander and letting the sander do its work. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Urban Legends Antiques, and I have a website for items available for shipping, including paint. We started carrying paint now, and the website is www.urbanlegendsantiques.com. Time to paint. This is Chalky Chicks' newest color, Denim, and it's a really, really nice blue. I was half tempted to try a coral color on this dresser, but I decided to go with the blue instead. Maybe my next piece I will do in coral. What do you guys think about that? Would you want to see me paint something coral or orange? Comment below and let me know. So I got the first coat done on the top of this dresser, and it's looking pretty good. I've got high hopes at this point. But stay tuned, because there's some drama that happens. Chalky Chicks' newest color in Denim. Let's see if I can fill up this paint sprayer better than on my last video where I spilled it everywhere. Look how careful I'm being this time. I did not want to spill any. Okay, I want to show you what happens when you use the mud on the dresser. It makes you want to like freak out, like, oh my gosh, I've done something wrong. But the mud absorbs the paint faster. So it looks like you've messed up, but you haven't. I want to flip the camera around, you're going to see. So you see the rings that I had been sanding? You can see them. Now is not the time to panic. You can still repair it if it's really messed up. But we're going to wait and see. We're going to let all of this dry and see if they still show up. These were divots, like there was something heavy and circular that they have put on this dresser. Maybe it was sitting in the garage or something. And it pressed the wood down. Day 2 in the battle of the dresser versus Jessie. I'm using the bonding primer. I'm mixing it up. It's thick like glue. I noticed there was some dark stains that were coming through even though I had scrubbed the dresser. And I really didn't want to have to go and sand and prime again with the painter's putty, so I decided to use the Valspar bonding primer. This stuff it's really good. You can actually use a sander and sand with it, but you're going to sacrifice a brush. So once you use it, the brush you use is pretty much getting tossed in the trash, so don't use an expensive brush with this stuff. Here we go. I'm going in with the bonding primer. It's thick, it's hard to put on. You have to really coax it to get it to spread. There are going to be brush strokes in it. You're going to have to sand it afterwards, but it does block everything. It covers stuff up, and those little circle divots that I had talked about were still showing through, so it will actually cover those up as well. I am trying to give it as smooth of a finish as possible, just for the sake of less sanding later. I am going to have to sand it, that's a given, but I'm trying to make it as smooth as I possibly can, so that way when I do go to sand it, it won't have like really high ridges from the paintbrush. The drawers are getting the same treatment as the top of the dresser. A gallon of the bonding primer costs about $65, but it's well worth it. I've used that can for I think about like 3 years now, and I still haven't finished it up yet. It's like I said, the primer is really, really thick, so you don't need a lot of it, and you can put down one coat of it and it'll look good. I'm just showing you can see all the ridges in the paint. As promised, I am sanding the bonding primer. This stuff is really, really good. It's worth its weight in gold. Moving on to the drawers, once again, I stop and then I will turn on the sander once I have it onto the drawer, so that way I won't get the swirly pattern in the dresser drawers from the sander. And the dresser's fighting back again. This drawer, a huge piece of the veneer chipped off in a big old chunk. So I think this is a drawer that I had used the heat gun on. I didn't find out about it until afterwards that the heat gun will warm up the veneer and cause it to lift. So my mistake, but this poor dresser is so beat up already. I'm using putty, and I'm just putting a big old thick layer of it on to fill in that huge gap that came up, and I will let it dry and sand it later. I'm going to try and paint again, and now I'm starting to have some problems with my paint gun. I keep having to like try and readjust the flow in the spray. I'm not quite sure what's going on, but it's coming out really splotchy, which it hadn't done on the first coat. I think it might be my spray gun. I think maybe there's a clog in it because I had left paint in it thinking I would be able to do the second coat quickly, which I did not do. Honestly, I know better than this too, because I'm always talking about how I live in the desert and how I have to paint fast because my paint will dry. You know, I got impatient and I shouldn't have done this. You can see here how the paint is coming out splotchy, and I'm trying to like adjust it. Normally the paint doesn't do this. It comes out really smooth and evenly, and I was just having a really hard time with it. After a day of fighting with this dresser, I decided to throw in the towel and hand paint. So I just took the paint, put in a little cup, grabbed my brush, and hand painted the whole thing. Here is day 3 after sanding, scrubbing, painter's mud, bonding primer, spraying more paint, and then finally deciding to hand paint it. And it looks really, really good. I'm super glad that I decided to hand paint the piece instead. This is that last drawer that was giving me so many problems that had the veneer flaking off. I'm going to sand it, then I'm going to Bondo primer it, hand paint it as well, and then we had to give some attention to the little drawer slides on the bottom of it because they were coming apart too. Finally, time for clear coat. I see the end in sight. I'm using polyurethane and satin. That's all that they had at the local hardware store. They're out of my favorite clear coat, so I just had to use that one. It's all right. It turned out pretty good. One good thing that happened was when I was vacuuming out all of the inside of the dresser, I found the missing knobs. So I redid them in antique gold rub and buff. And look how good they look. Here's the piece all done. It looks so good. I told you this was going to be a bumpy ride this week, and it really was. Thanks for coming along, though. Thanks for sticking it out with me. My name is Jessie from Urban Legends Antiques, and don't forget to like and subscribe to my videos and give this one a thumbs up, please, because this was a lot of work. Stay tuned to see how it's staged in my shop.